I walked in the comedy club. I see disappointment. It got peaks and valleys. You're going to lose somebody you care about one. That's a valley. Somebody going to close the plant you thought was going to stay open so you could retire. That's a valley. Somebody going to fire you for an unjust cause. That's a valley. The people that got your credit card going to sell their company, going to sell their business to another credit card company. Your 18% go up to 26%. You don't even know why now your minimum didn't change. Because it's life. You can stop thinking that life fitting to be easy, because I got news for you, it ain't. That's a false hope to think you're going to have a wonderfully carefree life. That's unthinkable. We all live in this bubble. What you got to do, you got to put more air in your bubble. You got to blow your bubble up. Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. Do not live in your bubble. Put some more air in your bubble. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. You will fail in your comfort zone. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
Pain will change us. Heartache, loss, disappointments, they don't leave us the same. When I lost my father, I didn't come out like I was before. I was changed. If you go through a divorce, a legal battle, a friend betrays you, eventually that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different. Now, how the pain changes you is up to you. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out with a chip on your shoulder blaming God, or you can come out stronger with a greater confidence in God. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, a new fire, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. All of us experience pain. My challenge, don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to develop character, to gain new confidence. Anybody can give up. Anybody can let it overwhelm you. But you know what that's doing? Wasting your pain. That pain is not there to stop you. It's there to prepare you, to increase you, to develop you. The scripture talks about how God is in control, not just of our lives, but He's in control of our enemies. Satan had to ask God for permission to test Job. The enemy may turn on the fire, but the good news is God has His hand on the thermostat. God controls how much heat, how much pain, how much adversity. He knows what we can handle. If it was going to harm us rather than help us, God would have turned back the intensity. In those tough times, when you're uncomfortable, going through a loss, dealing with an illness, you could easily let it overwhelm you. It's helpful to remind yourself, I may be in this fire, but I know who controls the temperature. The God who breathed life into me. The God who is for me and not against me. The God who crowned me with favor. The God who takes pleasure in prospering me. He's in complete control. He's not going to let it get too hot. He's not going to let it defeat me. I may not like it, but I'm not a whiner. I'm a warrior. I know I can handle this. You have that attitude, you'll come out stronger, increased, promoted, better than you were before. We've all heard the saying, no pain, no gain. If everything was always easy, we wouldn't be prepared for our destiny. Some of the things I face today, if I would have faced them 10 years ago, they would have overwhelmed me. I couldn't handle it back then. God knows what you need when you need it. Every struggle is making you stronger. Every difficulty is growing you up. Every painful time, even though you don't like it, it's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times. Don't complain about the pain. Without the pain, we couldn't reach the fullness of our destinies. Researchers did an experiment with bumblebees. They took them up into space to study the effects of weightlessness on them. The bees floated through the air with great ease, didn't have to use their wings. I'm sure they thought this is the way we were made to live. No struggle, no adversity, no resistance. For a few days, everything was great. But on the 4th day, something happened. They all died. They loved it being easy, no adversity. But the problem was they weren't created to not have any resistance. In the same way, we were not created to float through life on flowery beds of ease. We're going to the sweet by and by, but we are living in the nasty now and now. We love to not have any pain, loss, disappointments, heartaches, betrayal. That's not reality. Difficulties are a part of life.
You don't have a lot of time left, so there's no reason to complain. You're not even in a position to complain. You have to figure out that there has to be another idea about you, and you have to understand that there has to be something even greater and more challenging waiting for you. And if you're not willing to step outside of your comfort zone, if you're not willing to understand the principles and the possibilities that you have within yourself, then everything that you are thriving for, everything that you are hungry for, will soon come to an end. Now, I'm not here to preach to you about this. I'm here to let you know that there are things that are going on around you right now that are far greater than your complaining. You complaining about so much, but yet you show no action. If you could trade places with someone right now, and the person that you're trading places with may have it just a little bit tougher than you have it going on in your life right now. So many people are suffering from so many things in this world at this moment, but yet you're complaining. So many people in this world right now wish they could trade places with you, but yet you're still complaining. You don't have that right to just give up. You don't have that right to just throw in the towel and say that it's over for you. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to understand that the reason that you are existing in this world right now is because you have things that must be done, and only certain people are qualified to take it to the level that it needs to be taken to. For there should never be a limitation to wherever it is that you are seeking and how far you are willing to travel and how far you are willing to go. Sometimes people tend to get a little lazy. Sometimes people like to put themselves in this little bitty box and just say that they are okay with where they are. There can never just be an okay to anything when it comes to that life. There should never just be a complacent mindset. How do we evolve? How do you evolve? How do you grow? One thing about success, there are going to be many struggles. There are going to be many challenges. And there are going to be a lot of things that you may not even understand.
You speak your future into the world. You speak your future. Whatever you say, whatever falls off your tongue, when you say I am, right? The unconscious mind says, and you are so. Whatever comes on the other side of that. And so you ask me a hard question, which one is most important? It starts with the thought. I think the thought is that's where everything originates. And then you add a whole lot of turbo boost to it with your tongue.
Most people are not living their dreams because of fear, ladies and gentlemen. I was in Columbus, Ohio yesterday speaking for a particular Ohio department. Young lady named Karen who greeted me, who organized the event. Very talented, very skillful. And she was talking about she wanted to become involved in the consulting business. I said, why aren't you doing it? I said, you have the abilities. I said, you're not here because they like you. You're here because you're doing the job. You're making things happen. And she came up with all kinds of ideas, but finally she said, I guess I can't see myself doing it. I guess I'm afraid. Fear, limited vision, and lack of self-esteem is what keep most people doing things they don't want to do. I flew from Columbus, Ohio to Denver, Colorado to a major communications company. And the person that picked me up at the airport told me about the fact that the company was planning on having a major downsizing. And they offered some of the employees there an early retirement, and some of them will earn as much as $300,000. And they said, this is the last time that you can take this offer. If you don't do it, when we have the downsizing, you might be among those who will lose their jobs, and all you will get is your severance pay. And only 50% of the people who were eligible to take the $300,000 took it. The others were afraid to take a chance on themselves. The others couldn't see themselves beyond that company. They couldn't see life after that company. The same reason that people stay in relationships where they're abused or they're unhappy or it's unfulfilling. They can't see themselves beyond that relationship. They can't see themselves enjoying life without that person. They think that this is all that they can do. The same reason that people get stuck at a certain level in life. They can't see things being better for them. And they think that this is it and this is all they deserve. This is all they've ever seen. It's been passed on to them. And they think that this is it for them. Oh no.
Everyone experiences extreme stress at some point in their life. I don't care who we are. Something happens outside our control and it hits our life and it knocks us on our tail. It might be a health stress. It could be something with your family. It could be economic, career. It could be something emotional that happened, biochemical. There's so many things. It could be an environmental situation that had nothing to do with you. Every one of us in our lifetime are experiencing extreme stress. And these days, because of the economy and the way we respond to it, the majority of people are experiencing some form of extreme stress, at least according to polls. Stress doesn't come from the facts. Stress comes from the meaning that we give to facts. Yes, those things have happened. But the real question is, if we fight what's happened, we've got a problem. We've got to decide, what are we going to do with what's happened in our life? How are we going to take this? How are we going to mold this? How are we going to turn our life around? Because when you come up with a new meaning, you get a new life. And we're going to take a look at something from a different perspective. We're going to ask you this question. What is the single force that controls the quality of your life? If there was one gift our Creator has given us, or the universe, whatever you believe, what is it? What is the one power that you have right now in this moment that can change everything? You have it, I have it, we all have it. This one singular individual power that can change anything in our life, regardless of what's happened to us. And I know you know the answer. The answer is the power of choice. The one thing we have in this world is we can't control the events, but we can choose what to focus on, we can choose what things mean, and we can choose what to do. Those three choices, those three decisions really control our life. It's not so much the conditions of our life that control our destiny as much as the decisions of our life. Try for a second to think about something. Think about your life. And just think about, are there a few decisions? If I were to ask you 2 decisions you made in your life, you know, that if you would have made a different decision, you would have a totally different life. I mean, it may be a life may have been better, or it may have been worse, I don't know, but you would have a different life. I'm not asking you to buy into the fact that you should have known the answers. I just want you to see the power of a decision.
Do you want to go to college? I say, yes, ma'am, I'm going to college. She said, Inky, the chances of that happening, slim to none. Like, I'm not trying to crush your dreams, but I can't play with your future. It just doesn't happen. I said, just give me a shot. The first day I get to the school, I see why everybody said what they said. There was a cop at every single door and metal detectors. And I'm still hyped. My man starts searching me. His exact words were, what's your plan, little man? I said, oh man, I'm going D1, I'm going to college. He says to me, you'll probably go to cell block D1. He said, you had 2 uncles coming to the same place, great little ball players. He said, aren't they serving 13 and 40 years at the federal penitentiary, not even 10 minutes away from these front doors? I said, yep. He said, exactly. Apple don't fall far from the tree. When I got my scholarship from Tennessee and got back to Crim High School, the first person I went to see was that cop in the lunchroom. He said, how did you do it? He said, the reason I said it to you, he said, don't get it twisted. You thought I was trying to break you. I wasn't. He said, I've seen so many kids step up to me and say the same thing. They end up dropping out their freshman year. And so I wanted to challenge you to see, would you retreat or would you step up to me and fight for the thing that you said you wanted? I'm intrigued in life how when a person say they want something and the only thing it takes is for the circumstance to change. I'm intrigued by that, right? How a circumstance can take that away. In life, people don't burn out because of what they do. People burn out because life makes them forget why they do it. When it's about something greater than themselves, the opposition, the adversity, and the challenges are a part of the journey. That's why it's so easy to spot people that's just out for their personal gain, because all it takes is for something not to go the way that they thought it was going to go, and now they no longer want it. And so when I got to Tennessee, it was Mayberry for me. And I come into my junior year, and I'm about to get exactly what I want. I'm about to get this thing called NFL. This thing that I've been working for. Like, everything revolved around this game, and I finally get in a position in my life to where now I'm 10 games away from it. NFL on top of the paper. Inky Johnson projected top 30, automatic multi-millionaire. Just play the next 10 football games, Ink. You made it. And I go out in a silly game against Air Force, and I go to make a tackle, and when I hit him, every breath in my body left. I fall to the ground, I blacked out. When my eyes open, guys run over, Ink, let's rock, man, let's go, let's finish him off. And I'm like, I can't. They said, what do you mean you can't? I said, I can't move. I said, I can't feel anything. Doctor says to me as he's walking beside me, I don't know how you're still alive, son, you don't have any pulse. I'm sitting there and people coming into my room like, Inky, man, I'm sorry about what happened to you. Like, man, that's really the only thing you wanted, huh? Like, the only thing you really wanted was the NFL, that's it. I'm like, man, you limited God to that? Like life holds no substance, no value? And now the thing I place my identity in, now it's gone. That's why I laugh at people when they say, man, if I could just get this, I'll be. Man, if I could just get this amount of money, I'll be. I'm like, ooh. What happens when God says yes and no? Like, do you have the ability to accept what you don't understand? Can you handle when things get off course? I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, man, I'm 8 games away. Like, let me get the contract, then redirect me so I can help my family. And God's like, no, son, I need you to really go that way. And I'm like, you sure? Like, I need to go this way. He's like, no, I need you to go this way. I got something greater for you. Now, it might take a little longer to manifest, but I got something even sweeter. I got something, son, that's going to carry you for the rest of your life. And I thought it was over after football got redirected. My life got redirected 2, 3 more times before I even fell into my purpose and my mission. I'm thinking I'm going to be a coach. God's like, no, you ain't. I'm like, well, maybe I'm supposed to go back to Atlanta and work in my neighborhood at the rec center. I get to Atlanta, I call the guy, he don't answer the phone. The only thing I had at that moment was a prayer and a book. And the prayer that I prayed was, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do. But people keep coming to me, telling me, speak. Inky, you need to speak. And I'm like, I'm not speaking. People coming, Inky, you need to speak. I'm like, no, man. And God brought me to the point where I had nothing. And I was on my knees. I said, Lord, listen, I don't know if this is what you want me to do, but I submit and let's rock. And the next morning I woke up, I had my book I had written. And I got up and I looked at my wife. I said, I'm going to take this book to Oprah. Do you know Oprah? I'm like, nope. You know anybody at Harpo Studio? I'm like, nope. She said, go for it. And so I got my book, I got my suit, it's hot. Every door that opened, I ran in it. I'm, hey man, Inky Johnson, drove from Atlanta. They're like, get out of here. So after getting kicked out like 4 doors, I go to the back of the building. I sit down, I put my back on the building, look up to the sky, and I'm like, God, thought it was you. And I get up and I walk around the side of the building. I look down the sidewalk, and at this moment, there was nobody but Oprah and the security guard. She said, hey, that's a nice suit. I said, thank you. I said, I drove from Atlanta. I wanted to get you my book. So would you mind taking a picture? We take a picture, and I'm going to walk off, and her security says to me, hey, young man, come here. He said, what just happened never happens. So I leave. I start to put the picture on social media, send it to my friends, everybody's reaction. You going to be on a book club? You going to be on a show? I'm like, what just happened? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I'm like, God, are we moving like that? Don't know nobody on Oprah's staff, and look at my wife and say, I'm going to meet Oprah. And God puts me face to face with Oprah and puts the book in her hand. I said, God, let's go. I live my life a certain type of way according to the power that I know the Lord possesses. I live my life a certain type. Like when I go to the Lord in prayer, I go bold. Like, and I know the initial reaction when we go through things is to say, man, why did this have to happen to me? And it's an honest reaction. And some of the things we go through, I'm gonna just be real, it's not a scripture for it. But this is what I've understood. In life, some people don't need you to preach a sermon, they need you to live one.
Yeah, see, ladies and gentlemen, it makes a difference. The only time I really appreciated having money was when my mother became ill. My brother called me and said, Leslie, yes, Mama's been sick and we're going to put her in a nursing home. Wesley, we can't do that. Get Margaret Ann on the phone. She's on the phone. Get Linda and Leonard. They're all here. What, Leslie? Mama used to work in a nursing home. She said she never wanted to go into one. I promised her when I was 10 that I would take care of her. He said, we knew you would feel like that. And this is why we did such a thorough job interviewing the various nursing homes. And we have found the one that's ideal. I said, hold it, just a minute. She took care of us. See, I had a problem. I couldn't understand how one woman, 46, domestic worker on Miami Beach, can raise 7 children who couldn't take care of themselves, but 7 children couldn't take care of one woman. I had a problem with that. So I resigned from the Ohio legislature and I went back to Miami to take care of Mama. And I'll never forget taking her to Jackson Memorial Hospital. The receptionist said, as she looked at my mother, looked at me, she didn't say, how you doing? Are you uncomfortable? Are you in any pain? The lady just said, what kind of insurance do you have? And I stepped forward and I said, she has Les Brown Unlimited. Give my mother what she needs. I can write a check for her.
My best friend, Lonnie Cotton, wrote on the paper at 10, he wanted to be a doctor. This was an impossibility. Lonnie can't even read. When we in the reading group, he started a fight so he can get thrown out to the principal's office. What doctor you know can't read? I knew Lonnie wasn't going to be no doctor when he said that. I knew he was just writing stuff on the paper. What you want to write on your paper is what you're gifted at. What are you gifted at? What is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort? That's your gift. God has been using your imagination to show you your gift.
Something new is coming. It's easy to get stuck in life. When we've gone through disappointments, had a setback, tried and our dream didn't work out, we can settle where we are and think this is as good as it gets. But God said in Isaiah, I am doing a new thing. Even now it springs forth. Can you not perceive it? God is about to do something new in your life. He didn't create you to get stuck at one level and stay there. He has new opportunities, new relationships, new favor. It may look like you'll always struggle in your finances. So get ready, something new is coming. Promotion, opportunity, doors opening that you never dreamed would open. The medical report says you have to live with that sickness. It's been a long time. God is saying, I'm doing a new thing. I'm restoring health. I'm breathing energy, vitality, freshness into your body. That child has been off course for years. You've accepted that he'll never change. That would be true, but God is doing a new thing. Forces of darkness are being broken. Purpose and destiny are rising up. You're about to see a turnaround. Or maybe that addiction has hindered you your whole life. You tried to stop, gone to counseling, nothing helped. This is a new day. Chains that have held you back are being loosed. What's kept you in captivity is coming to an end. Now you have to do your part and receive the prophecy. You can't go around thinking you're stuck. The problem's too big. It's been this way too long. Turn it around. Lord, I believe what you promised. Thank you that you're doing something new in my life. When Isaiah prophesied this, the Israelites were in captivity in Babylon. They had been there a long time, year after year, nothing changing. I'm sure they thought, we'll always struggle. We'll always be oppressed. Then Isaiah showed up and said, get ready. God is doing a new thing. They could have thought, yeah, right. Have you seen these enemies? Look how powerful they are. All the circumstances say we're stuck. We'll never live an abundant life, never own our own homes. Our children will never be free. Don't talk yourself out of the new thing God wants to do. The odds may be against you, but the Most High God is for you. The Israelites had been through many struggles, had unfair things happen. They had made mistakes, brought the trouble on themselves. They could have been sitting in self-pity, discouraged. But Isaiah said, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Behold, God is doing a new thing. The principle is, if you're dwelling on the past, you won't see the new thing. If you're focused on who hurt you, what wasn't fair, why did this friend walk away, then you'll miss your destiny. God is saying, forget the former things. Quit dwelling on your mistakes. This is a new day. Living in regrets will keep you from new opportunities. Reliving your mistakes will stop the new favor. As long as you're looking back at the old, you won't see the new. When you drive home today, there's a big windshield in front of you and a very small rear view mirror. The reason it's so small is because what's behind you is not nearly as important as what's in front of you. Where you're going is what matters, not where you've been. Is there something you need to forget so you can see the new thing? Something you need to quit dwelling on so you can step into the favor and abundance that God has for you? When someone hurts you, they do you wrong. If you keep thinking about it, then you're letting them continue to hurt you. Don't give them your power. You have to let it go. Give it to God. He saw what they did. He saw your tears, your heartache. He has beauty for those ashes. But here's the key. You have to let go of the ashes before you can see the beauty. It's an exchange. God says, you give me the ashes. You quit dwelling on the hurts. You forgive them. You move forward with your life, and I'll give you the beauty. I'll do something so great, so rewarding, that you don't even think about what you lost. The new thing God has for you, the new people, the new opportunities, the promotion, healing, influence will be better than you ever dreamed. The Israelites were in captivity. Not only were the Babylonians holding them, but all around them was the desert. Even if they escaped, they couldn't survive. But Isaiah explained what the new thing was. He said, God will make rivers in the desert. What looks like barren ground will be turned into fertile land. God was saying, this new thing that I'm about to do, it's not going to be natural, it's going to be supernatural. That's why you can't figure it out. It's not going to be logical. What God is about to do is going to be unusual, uncommon, out of the ordinary. You're going to see rivers where there should be dry places. The scripture says, even in famine, the righteous will have more than enough. Seems like in famine, you would barely get by. But God does things that defies the odds. Don't limit this new thing to what you think can happen. If I can just learn to live with this sickness, no, God is going to free you from the sickness. If I can just pay my bills, Joel, I'll be happy. God's going to bring you into overflow. If my child will just stay out of trouble, that child is going to do great things. You may not see how. That's okay. It's not up to you. It's up to God. He's the one that makes rivers in the desert. He's the one that parts Red Seas, cures the lepers, multiplies the food to feed thousands. A lady told me how her relative had passed away and left her a small inheritance. She decided to invest it in real estate. She bought another house and was going to rent it out. The first people that came along seemed like fine people. They worked for a nonprofit that helped children. She thought this couple would be perfect. She didn't do all the background checks that she should have. Turned out they were dishonest. 3 months into the lease, they stopped paying rent and didn't tell her. She had it set up to go to the bank. She thought everything was fine. They kept her from getting the notices. Well, several years went by and eventually the house was foreclosed on. She lost all of her money. She could have been bitter, upset, tried to get revenge, but she said, I didn't make a big deal about it. That takes maturity. It's easy to make a big deal when we're hurt, betrayed. Why did this happen? I'm going to get even. You have to forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. That means don't let the hurts, the bad breaks, the times you were taken advantage of sour the rest of your life, cause you to live with a chip on your shoulder. God knows how to vindicate you. He knows how to pay you back. Year after year, she kept being her best. Nobody even knew she went through the bad break. She didn't go around complaining, discouraged. She had a song of praise. God sees when you're in the desert. He's watching you in the lonely nights, the times you were betrayed. You felt like giving up, but you kept going. You could have held a grudge, but you forgave. You kept moving forward. Was it easy? You were hurting. The pain was real, but you didn't let it stop you. 6 years later, this lady got a check in the mail unexpectedly from the bank for $125,000. They said, we sold the property and this money belongs to you. She didn't even pay that much for it. She made a profit. God knows how to make rivers in the desert. He knows how to pay you back for the wrongs.
on your bed one day and ask yourself, what remarkably stupid things am I doing on a regular basis to absolutely screw up my life? And if you actually ask that question, but you have to want to know the answer, right? Because that's actually what asking the question means. It doesn't mean just mouthing the words. It means you have to decide that you want to know. You'll figure that's out so fast it'll make your hair curl. There's no better pathway to self-realization and the ennoblement of being than to posit the highest good that you can conceive of and commit yourself to it. And then you might also ask yourself, and this is definitely worth asking, is do you really have anything better to do? And if you don't, well, why would you do anything else? If you orient yourself properly and then pay attention to what you do every day, that works. And I actually think that that's in accordance with what we have come to understand about human perception, because what happens is that the world shifts itself around your aim. Because you're a creature that has an aim. You have to have an aim in order to do something. You're an aiming creature. You look at a point and you move towards it. It's built right into you. And so you have an aim. Well, let's say your aim is the highest possible aim. Well then, so that sets up the world around you. It organizes all of your perceptions. It organizes what you see and you don't see. It organizes your emotions and your motivations. So you organize yourself around that aim, and then what happens is the day manifests itself as a set of challenges and problems, and if you solve them properly, then you stay on the pathway towards that aim, and you can concentrate on the day. And so that way you get to have your cake and eat it too, because you can point into the distance, the far distance, and you can live in the day. And it seems to me that that makes every moment of the day supercharged with meaning. That's how, because if everything that you're doing every day is related to the highest possible aim that you can conceptualize, well, that's the very definition of the meaning that would sustain you in your life. Well, and then the issue is, well, back to Noah. Well, all hell's about to break loose and chaos is coming. It's like when that's happening in your life, you might want to be doing something that you regard as truly worthwhile, because that's what will keep you afloat when everything is flooded. And you don't want to wait until the flood comes to start doing that, because if your ark's half built and you don't know how to captain it, the probability is very high that you'll drown. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. That sounds pretty optimistic again. But again, I think it's a description of the structure of existential reality, and by which I mean, when I'm in my clinical practice and I observe, and this is also the case with my students, is, let's say, people's lives aren't what they would like them to be. And so then you ask, why? Well, forget about tragedy and catastrophe, because that's self-evident, and we're not going to discuss that. Although the degree to which you bring about your own tragedy is always indeterminate. But I would never say that every terrible thing that is visited on a person is something they deserved. I think that that's a very dangerous presupposition, especially because everyone gets sick and everyone dies. But one of the main reasons that people don't get what they want is because they don't actually figure out what it is. And the probability that you're going to get what would be good for you, let's say, which would even be better than what you want, right? Because, you might be wrong about what you want easily. But maybe you could get what would really be good for you. Well, why don't you? Well, because you don't try. You don't think, okay, here's what I would like if I could have it. And I don't mean in a way that you manipulate the world to force it to deliver you goods for status or something like that. That isn't what I mean. I mean something like, imagine that you were taking care of yourself like you were someone you actually cared for. And then you thought, okay, I'm caring for this person. I would like things to go as well for them as possible. What would their life have to be like in order for that to be the case? Well, people don't do that. They don't sit down and think, all right, let's figure it out. You've got a life. It's hard, obviously. It's like 3 years from now, you can have what you need. You got to be careful about it. You can't have everything. You can have what would be good for you, but you have to figure out what it is, and then you have to aim at it. Well, my experience with people has been if they figure out what it is that would be good for them, and then they aim at it, then they get it. And it's strange because it's a strange thing. It's not quite that simple, because you know, you may formulate an idea about what would be good for you, and then you take 10 steps towards that, and you find out that your formulation was a bit off, and so you have to reformulate your goal. You know, so you're kind of going like this as you move towards the goal. But a huge part of the reason that people fail is because they don't ever set up the criteria for success. And so, since success is a very narrow line and very unlikely, the probability that you're going to stumble on it randomly is 0. And so there's a proposition here, and the proposition is, if you actually want something, you can have it.
You're here right now at this moment because tomorrow you want to be somebody greater than the person you are today. You see yourself succeeding, you have a vision, you have a dream. Congratulations. You're already 10 steps ahead of 95% of the world. Imagine if Michael Jordan was scared of missing. He would have never taken a shot. Imagine if Steve Jobs was afraid of people not liking his product. There would be no iPhone. So ask yourself this: do you want to be a person who fears failure, or do you want to be a person who loves success? Which one? Because you're gonna have to pick today. And I'll tell you one thing: one is a failure and one is a success. And if you love success, there is nothing that can stop you. All those negative things people say will mean nothing. They're gonna talk about how only 1% make it to the top. Big deal. Wanna know something else? Only 1% stick with that fitness program long enough to see results. Only 1% of nerds stick with that video game long enough to get good at it. Only 1% of relationships stick it out to the end. That doesn't mean you have a 1% chance. It just means you can't behave like the 99%. You'll have to do something better than giving up a month from now. Those are just numbers. You want to talk about numbers? Take a look around you, and take a good look around you. Are you like 99% of the people around you? If you are, then you're in the wrong video, my friend. You have to love success just as much, because that's what's gonna allow you to get up and go for it. Being scared to fail won't do anything. In fact, when you love success and you start going for it, guess what happens? You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail 10 times, 100 times, maybe even 1,000 times. But that's okay. Failure isn't permanent. Falling isn't permanent. You get right back up and keep going. And this time, you're gonna be stronger, wiser, and you'll be more driven than ever. And for every 10 failures, you'll land 1 success. You have to love success so much that you're willing to fail 10 times before you can succeed once. That's how a winner does it. I want to explain the biggest myth that most people think leads them to success. And here's the myth. You might believe if you're scared to fail, you won't fail. Lies. Biggest myth ever. And I believed it. You see, I always thought that being scared to fail in life would literally keep me from failing. I would look at the losers around me and I would say, sheesh, I never want to turn out like him. I really believed this train of thought would help me succeed. Until one day, I was walking down the street and I saw an old man. Had a hat, suspenders, and a cane. Was about 80 years old. This old man was barely walking. He could walk, but the cane helped a lot. He was struggling. So anyway, he was walking across the street and he ended up falling. So I went over to go help him. And he gets up, says thank you, and we introduced ourselves. Had a little conversation. Told me his name and I told him mine. His name was Robert, by the way. And right as he walked away, I told him, this is what I said. Robert, you should stay inside where it's safe, my friend. And Robert turns around and says to me, I love walking, And I love walking way more than I'm afraid of falling. So I ask him, well, what about your safety? Don't you want to live? And he told me this. These are the exact words he said. He said this: Solo, living means doing what you love to do. And if I have to fall here and there to do what I want to do in life, then so be it. And he just walked away. Never saw him again. That was it. But that statement really had me thinking, and it had me thinking hard, because I learned something that day. That's when I realized the true key to success. You see, I always thought if I could just fear the act of failing, and if I fear it like crazy, I will succeed.